What are the best teams and partners for LR AGL Third Eye Gomah? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan Battle video. In today's video, we are taking a look at the brand new yellow coin LR AGL Third Eye Gomah. And in this video, we're going to break down the unit, take a look at his links and his best partners, and use that information to inform how we're going to build the best teams to utilize this guy for maximum effectiveness. So strap on in and let's take a look. So starting with this guy's passive, he has an entrance animation that he can activate when there's another demonic power or terrifying conqueror's ally on the team, and it gives him 40% attack for, or I'm sorry, 40% chance of evading enemy's attack for 4 turns. So a nice little buffer for those early turns in those short fights where the bosses are coming out swinging. His basic effects include key 5, attack and defense 333%, and chance of performing a critical hit, and chance of evading enemy's attack, and damage reduction rate 33%. So for the first 4 turns, he essentially has 73% evasion, and he recovers 15% HP at the end of the turn. Before receiving 3 attacks, he has 66% damage reduction. So for the first 4 turns, for 3 attacks, right, should any of your dodge fail, right, you've got 73% chance to dodge and 99% damage reduction. Really good combo. Moving on, when receiving an attack, he gets an additional defense 200%, and after receiving an attack, he gets an additional key 5, and attack 200%, and great chance of launching an additional super attack within the turn. So this is key. Once you've got this guy fully built up, you want to chuck him into slot 1, let him dodge, let him take a hit, and then let him do his business. Because of the next portion of his passive that we're going to talk about, he ends up being one of the hardest hitting characters in the game. At the start of each turn, he gains 150% attack permanently, with an additional high chance, that's a 50% chance, of an additional attack 100% raise. So that basically means he has the potential to raise his stats, especially his attack, by 250% each turn. 150% for defense if you don't proc that high, that high chance. So that's crazy. That's a phase 2 stack. This is not something we've seen before until the manga characters, and this is the first time we've really seen it this high. The manga characters all have them, 35% and lower. This guy, 150% every turn. This means he builds quick. He builds very quick. On top of that, any characters who, right, shift the turns, say like a giant form, like Gomah's own giant form, it causes the turn to reset and therefore gives him a second stack within the turn. So it's a crazy ability. It really is. Added on to that, when he's the second attacker of the turn, at the start of the turn, he gets an additional 333% defense added on to what he already had. So this makes him a character that's near impossible to kill, right? We're talking a character who, right, has everything he needs to mitigate damage within short fights, including the ability to dodge and have 99% damage reduction for short fights. And once that turn is up, when he comes back, when there could be potential danger, then he can just use his giant form and protect himself from the supers, right? He has everything he needs to be successful in all forms of content, right? That passive stack allows him to stack very, very well, even when he doesn't super in long events like Festival of Battles, which allows other units to build up around him. Now, his super attack effect, because of that passive stack, means that he's not stacking on his super attack effect, but rather just raising his attack for the turn and greatly lowering attack and defense. His 12 key, should you proc it, through that additional super, does raise defensive allies for 20% for 2 turns. Very, very useful ability. So again, this guy has it all, but right, he does have a strange set of links, that makes it somewhat difficult to build around. While he does have some really good partners, he does have it is quite difficult. So if we head on over to the Dokkan FY, shout out to these guys, a very useful website. For those that don't know, I do use this website a lot when building teams. It's a very useful website as it gives us not just a full breakdown of the unit, it tells us everything we need to know about their stats, their links, and a very useful tool for understanding their partner. So if we look at Gomah's links, he has More Than Meets the Eye, Fear and Faith, Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses, Master of Magic, Fierce Battle, and Legendary Powers. So the characters we want to use next to him are characters that are going to maximize the most amount of these links. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't have any 6 or 7 link partners, so we want to go for partners that are going to help meet most of his conditions, right? If we are able to get it, we've got 10, 15, right? So that's 25%, 50%, another 65%, another 20%. So 85%, 100% attack if we were to maximize all of his links. Obviously, that's not always possible, and because his best link partners are 4 link partners, you'll never get 7 through your 3rd slot floater because you want him in slot 1 to deal his damage. So that's the reality. So we want to go who out of that 100%, who can give us the maximum amount. Well, when we sort by the categories here on the Dokkan FYI, we can see that his major 4 link partners are actually some of the best units in the game, right? The best villain units we've gotten all year. Partners like Omega, Rose, the other side of Rose, Zamasu, Janemba. When we look at his 3-link partners, he's got 17, the GT Duo, and Baby, and Golden Frieza, and Gogeta. All great partners for the guy, and all recent and useful partners as well, right? If you think around teams where you might build him next to Omega, right? Omega being a 4-link partner for him is giving him Big Bad Bosses, Fierce Battle, and Legendary Power. Combined, that gives him 35%. So 60% attack, which is what you want, right? You want those attack links up for him because he's going to be a big damage dealer. Rose, same thing, right? Rose gives him the another 60%. Rose is a great link partner for him, giving him Fear and Faith, Big Bad Bosses, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power. And pretty much almost every team that you can run Gomah on, you can run Rose on. So that's really, really helpful. He also links really well with the Tech Janemba. Now, I know a lot of people overlook this guy, but he is pretty good, especially on the baby team with that added corroded body and mind support. And he actually gives him 4 of his attack links through More Than Meets the Eye, Big Bad Bosses, Master of Magic, and Fierce Battle, giving him 70% attack. So if you want to maximize his attack, Janemba is the way to go. So very, very helpful there. Of course, once he changes into his other form, he's going to lose. I think he lose. Let's see if we can find. Does it show the transform state? Yeah, so he will lose a couple of those links when he's transformed. Does it show him here? Oh my, that is too much to look at there. But, you know, it's for the short fights, right? You're ready to dodge and do all your other stuff at that point anyway, so it's really not that big of a deal. But even looking at partners like Baby, right? You're going to be running him next to Baby a lot. You've got Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses, Fierce Battle, right? That's still 60% of his attack, which is pretty much all you need. The only thing you're not getting that you would get from Rose or Omega is Fear and Faith, which just gives added ki, which he's going to get anyways through his passive buildup, and dropping enemies' defense, which doesn't always apply to every fight, right? So, you know, you make do, but he really does have, you know, some of the best partners. And so these partners are going to inform how we build our teams. So if we head on over back to our game here, we can take a look at some of the teams that I have set up to run him on here. So we'll start with the first 2 teams, because, you know, you're probably going to want to try this guy in super long events. I've set up 2 teams here that are for long events, specifically for Festival of Battles. So the first team here is under the AGL Gogeta. Now, he is only on the 170 for that lead because he is on Successors, but he's not on Gifted Warriors or Fusion, obviously. obviously. But due to his passive stack, it's really not that big of a deal because on this setup, you can literally just chuck him next to Rose, have your other turn allow for your Vegito and your Fizz Gogeta build up while you float the blues and your Gogeta. It's pretty simple. Now, the only risk to this team, of course, is that the Rose isn't getting any defense build over time. So, by the time you get to those final phases, you really have to make sure your Gomah is fully built up because Rose can't take a hit. But it does work, right? If you set the team up correctly, it does work because Rose can pretty much take the normals towards the end. It's just those supers you got to watch out for. But this team can work, especially with the added support, right, from your Gogeta. Now, another team that I find that works really well, and it does mitigate the problem with Rose's defense, is Baby's team. Now, this does put some of your characters here, like Vegeta and Trunks, on a 170, but because of their stacking, it's really not that big of a deal. But Baby's team works really well as well, right? Having that additional support, he can link with Baby for most of the fight until you're ready to drop Rose in, right? Because as you know, right, with Festival, you do need to kind of balance your stacking. So you could let Baby run the fight there and drop him, just drop Gomah onto the turn. Once again, he doesn't have to actually do anything while you're building up. He can let everyone else build up while he remains on rotation, just silently building. And like I said, this works really well because of Vegeta and Trunks' stacking. It does kind of help Rose out defensively to hang on to those normals towards the end, just in case, because especially for once you get to the Gogeta fight, because that's where it gets kind of rough for him. Moving on. Right, another good team setup we have here. This one works in most of the short fight content, but you have a team under Daima Goku. Now you'll notice that Daima Goku, none of his link partners except Slug are here, right? Slug, because of all the because can actually do pretty well in the special battle fights under this team because of all the crazy support here. Daima Goku and the 2-turn support he's getting, especially if you got 2 of them. Gomah's defensive support from his 12 key super attack effect. Glorio's support. Imagine this is the mini Piccolo. Again, I did not pull mini Piccolo, so I don't have access to him, but imagine that's the mini Piccolo, right? His support. And then, of course, right, you have your partner for Goku, right? So basically the way this team would be structured is you partner your 2 Gokus together, partner your Gomah and your Slug together, while Slug only gives him 3 links. It's going to be enough, right? He's still going to get that 60%, which is enough to let him build, combined with the domain. Really, really good for short fights. Secondary option to that, right? If you're like me and you don't have the mini Piccolo, you can sub in AGL Gohan for the same effect. Although obviously Piccolo is better. With his 2-turn support, Gohan can still provide additional support, especially if you get to pop off his active skill. Another good team to mitigate that works really well in short fights is the Baby team. Design more centered around the extreme units on the team, such as Omega, Tech Janemba, or the Rose. Any one of those can be subbed in as a partner for him at any point in the short fights. Obviously, getting Tech Janemba or Rose would be preferred, but I mean, really, it just kind of works. This team really works. And then, of course, you have Omega's domain. While not directly benefiting Gomah, does benefit in the team as a whole, enabling them to keep up the damage and keep the boss down. That's another team similar on the Baby, right? Swapping out Janemba and the GT Bros for 17 and Tech Cell. Both work very well under Omega's domain and have their own setup, right? For 17, he's got enough of his target Goku allies here to run effectively, right? So you can either have him have his target Goku turn or his GT boss's turn with Omega. Either one works well here, and he works pretty well. Again, this is another mid-range to short events for this one. Okay, and then the final couple teams we have here. One really good team, you can actually run Gomah as lead. Like, that's how strong he is, centered around Demonic Power and Terrifying Conquerors. Although you're still chasing Baby for the link partner with this one. You do also have Golden Frieza and Gogeta, which helps mitigate some of the big damage for early turns for like Gohan and Goku, while they partner up on one rotation with Gomah and Baby on the other, of course, with your Glorio support. The bottom one here, while not the craziest team, really depends on how they handle these heroes easy A's. And I'm a little disappointed because unless, depending on who the December TUR is, Hearts should be getting an easy A between now and then. But Hearts and Gomah don't really share any teams. And that's the tough part here because they would be good partners on a demonic power team, but Hearts isn't on demonic power. So, right, the only heroes unit that's on the team that'll be easy aim aside from Gohan is going to be the Rebels. So I kind of set up a team here, right? The Dark King Demigra is actually still pretty good, and you add additional damage reduction support and the additional support that's coming out of the domains from STR Slug here, as well as the support from the other Diamond units. He'll actually do all right if you can get him with those if you can get him hit and built up safely. So if they handle Rebel well, right? Rebel is pretty much a floating support unit, changes orbs. If she's handled well, she could be another great demonic power support unit. But that depends on how they handle the heroes EZAs. So those are pretty much the teams that I would recommend running him on. You'll notice that a lot of these teams, Gomah is the primary damage dealer, and that is because, again, you stick him slot 1 once he's built up, and that's where he's going to work for you. You'll also notice that he doesn't really have a big chance to crit, only having a 33% chance. So I do recommend it, since he is going to be your damage dealer, you prioritize his attack and crits, right? You want him to crit. You need him to crit because no matter how big those numbers get, right? If you can't crit, they mean nothing. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with is some suggested events to use him in. And the answer is all of them. Right? Whether we're talking the Hybrid Saiyans Magnificent Battle, the Festival of Battles, the Divine Wrath Mortal Will, or Shadow Dragon's Boss Rush stage, the Tamagami stages, the Special Battle stages, or the Broly Red Zone. This dude has it all. This dude does it all. He can take on each of these events with little to no problems. He has things to mitigate the opening turns for the special battles, right? Including managing the locking through his giant form, as well as other characters on his team to support him in case things go wrong on turn 1 and turn 2, as well as he has what he needs to build up and take down longer events very, very quickly because of how quick he's building. So he's kind of a jack of all trades, master of all, right? He works really well. So, guys, that is it for the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know, what other partners have you found work really well next to Gomah? And what teams have you tried to set up? Have you used any of the teams that we've shown here? Let us know in the comments down below if you have any special teams for Gomah. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.